Like every interaction with people, whether it's in the restroom, whether it's at the water fountain, whether you're getting coffee, whether it's in the pew, whether it's at the altar, every interaction, you're either dinging the brand or you're polishing the brand.
Hey guys, this is Billy Haley, and I want to welcome you to Between Sundays, a podcast from Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church. We're so excited to launch this podcast. It's something that we've been discussing for a really long time, and the idea of a podcast has been brewing for several years, and we're here. 2023 is the year that we are officially launching Between Sundays. And I'm excited to be doing this with my pastor, Pastor Tim Zuniga. He's here, and we're going to be doing this together. And really, we've had so many conversations in meetings, behind closed doors, at coffee shops, and it seems like, Pastor, we always walk away saying, we should have recorded that. Like, why didn't we record that? And so, Pastor, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and the vision of Between Sundays?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and just really begin this journey. Looking forward to just whatever the future holds with it. But been pastoring here almost 20 years and with a lot of experience as far as just pastoring a local church. I tell people I'm a local pastor, and I walk through so many different challenges, so many different questions, and privileged to do so, honored to do so. And again, there's a lot of questions, a lot of conversations that we wish that more people could be a part of. We just don't have a place to do that. There's just not a platform, so to speak. You know, it doesn't come across on Sundays or our Bible study times. And so this seems the right place to begin to have discussions about topics, questions, interests, things that people really care about, want to know, that would really benefit their lives.
Yeah, so the even the name of the podcast, you know, Between Sundays, you only get so much time in the church world for our weekend experiences. You know, in our context, we're anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours on campus. And then that's just not enough time to really truly impact the other 6 days of the week. And so that's the concept. That's the idea of doing something like this as a resource to our church in between Sundays.
Yeah, someone said this, that, we can't even obey all of the New Testament the way we do church on Sunday. There's just not enough time, not enough opportunity, right? And there's 168 hours in the week, and just say church takes up 3 of those hours if you're faithful to church, if you actually go to church, if you actually walk in the campus, on the campus. So we want to influence that other 165 hours. Again, however that is for you, there will be people that on the job, they can listen, exercising, they can listen, they put the kids down to rest, they can listen. We just want to make things available that can really help people what suits their schedule.
Yeah. And so who would you say target audience? Like, there's podcasts all over the internet. Yeah. People even listening now, if you're still listening, thank you so much for staying with us. But who's our target audience? Who's the ideal listener here?
The ideal listener to me is the people that are part of our church family. Now, again, if God and anybody else wants to listen to it, that's great. But our focus, my heart, my passion is just to help and come alongside families, leaders, people in our church family. And so that's my goal. Again, to activate the church pew, to get them mobilized is such a challenge. And so if we can do that and equip them, we just let the church rise to another level. I realize this, that, there are people that are gifted, they're called, they're anointed in the local church. One day, they're going to stand before God, and they're going to give an account for the gifts, the talents, the abilities, the skill set that God has hardwired them with. And when they do that, I want to make sure we've done everything on our part to equip them. In fact, one of the prayers that I pray is, God, help us to be an equipping church. Help me to be an equipping pastor. I want to equip people for what God's asked them to do. So part of this podcast is to really help people be equipped in what God's asking them to do.
Yeah. And I can testify to that. We've walked this journey now. I've been at Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church for 18 years, and I've seen firsthand, both publicly and privately, the intentionality of developing people, developing leaders. And so why don't you give just a little snippet of what can people expect in the future episodes, things that would make them want to come tune back in? What are some things that they can expect from Between Sundays?
Yeah, I think the overarching goal here is to be helpful. Like, we want conversations that are helpful, not just true and not just right, not just correct, not just good. We're not just dispensing information. We really want these conversations to be helpful. We want people to be armed, equipped for whatever question, conversations, whatever God is doing in their lives. So some of these topics are very practical, like parenting, how do we do this in this world, this culture that we're living in? Some of it is, how do we balance ministry in my life where, I got a secular job and I'm a volunteer. How do I do that? How do I make that work without losing my mind? Some of these things are going to help. How do we have stronger, healthier marriages? How do we lead with clarity in a real foggy world? I think these things are very helpful. How do we balance the stress, the pressure, the anxiety of what the expectations are and stay healthy? How do we do that? How do we have mental health in all of these complexities, these things that are challenging our faith, challenging our theology, challenging our walk with God? These are just conversations that I think can be very helpful for people to walk with clarity, with strength, with insight, revelation. And so, some of these are just really practical. Some of them are going to be things that I think is just informative, things that we want you to know, that things about our church, how we do things. One of the thoughts is like, what are some of the unspoken rules in our church? Like,
right.
We never broadcast them.
Right.
They're the unspoken rules. People do them, but no one ever addresses them. I think people would like to know that, right? They would love to have some insight, like just an idea. Like, if a pitcher in a Major League Baseball game is pitching a no-hitter, okay? And he's like going into the 7th inning. And, the unspoken rule in baseball is no one goes to the pitcher and says, listen, you're pitching a no-hitter, right? Like, everyone knows. Like, everyone in the stand, everyone that's watching the game, every player knows that there's a no-hitter going on. Like, no one goes and tells them that. That's the unspoken rule. Like, you don't see that in a booklet. You don't see that in a manual, right? It's unspoken rule. Well, every church, and our church certainly has unspoken rules. So I think something like that would be very interesting. And just to talk, other topics, things like that ding your influence, ding your leadership. Like, every interaction with people, whether it's in the restroom, whether it's at the water fountain, whether you're getting coffee, whether it's in the pew, whether it's at the altar, every interaction, you're either dinging the brand or you're polishing the brand, right? Mm-hmm. And so what are those things that polish the brand? What are the things that ding the brand or ding your influence? I think things like that are just helpful. And we want to truly bring some great insight to people as we see their development, as we see their influence grow, as we see what God's doing in their life just begin to flourish. There's no greater joy to see people walking in their purpose. Yeah. There's no greater joy to see people walking with fulfilled, happy, life-giving lives, right? And so this faith walk, and Jesus didn't die for us to drag through this and be sorry that we're saved, right? He saved us and filled us with His Spirit for us to live overcoming lives. We want to partner with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about the journey of this podcast and seeing people grow through it. And one other thing, we've talked about is we have people come through, right, that are just they have a wealth of information. And again, the concept of a lot of times we bring them in to speak on Sundays or maybe to speak to smaller groups here and there, but we have the opportunity through this podcast to bring them in to affect even more people through this digital platform. And so there's opportunities to sit at tables and record conversations with some of the preachers that we bring in or some of the people that we bring in for retreats or whatever that is, that now the entire church is going to get an opportunity to hear from those people. So this is exciting. I'm personally excited. I know we kicked the episode off talking about how this has just been a dream and a conversation for years. And one of the things that we said we wanted to do, you already alluded to it, is we want this to be resourceful. We want it to be helpful. We want people to take what we talk about and be able to apply it to their life, to their real life, what they do Monday through Saturday. And so one of the ways that we're going to do that is every episode is going to close with some type of action item, something that we are asking the listener to do. And so this episode, our what would you call it? Our launch episode. We'll call it the launch episode. What is the action item for this launch episode?
So the big ask here is that we're asking people to sign up.
Yeah.
We really want them to subscribe to this podcast.
Admittedly, that's selfish, right?
I know, get it. Again, we don't think we're expert. We don't think we're the smartest and sharpest tool in the shed. I get it.
Yeah.
But we do care deeply about our church.
That's
and
right.
we do care deeply about the local church. And we do care deeply about people really reaching their zenith of their God-given potential.
Yeah.
And so we want to aid to that. We want to help that. We want to really lean into that. And so we're asking you to subscribe. And again, if you'll subscribe, you'll listen, I think you're going to be blessed.
Yeah. And so wherever you listen at, whether it's Spotify or iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, you're going to be able to find this. I would ask you to share it. Share it with people in the church that you know of. We want to reach as many people. Our target audience, as Pastor said, is right here, 733 Old Dickerson Road. The people that attend this church. That's our bullseye. But we pray that anyone, if you're listening to it and you have no idea who Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church, you don't know who Pastor Tim Zuniga is or Billy Haley is, we pray that somehow you're also blessed and influenced by this as well. So make sure you subscribe and join us next time on Between Sundays.